Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Chamber's Ask the Expert. Today, we're switching things up a bit, and you'll actually hear from David himself. Recently, David had a chance to address the Rotary Club of Aiken, and what you're about to hear are his remarks from their last meeting on May 4th, 2020. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The AikenChamber represents 1,000 businesses in this community. And I feel a great responsibility for us to understand what they're facing and to help think of survival strategies to help them move forward. We used to talk about 2 months ago, way back 2 months ago, we always talked about how business could grow and thrive. And now we're having to talk about how business can survive, then grow and thrive. Now, we've done a lot of things, a number of things to connect with businesses. Julie Whitesell, the chairman of the chamber this year, and I have had, in April, we had 18 different Zoom meetings with various chamber members representing as many of the different business classifications as we could to try to understand the lay of the land from their perspective. And as you might guess, it's all over the place. Some types of businesses are still doing very well. Things that can be done outdoors, not in people's homes, can be very well. Restaurants that had drive-throughs are doing great because they're already set up for that. They know how to do it. Some restaurants have been very successful with the pick up and dine out service. Others did not find that to work for them. And so that's a problem. So the food and beverage industry has really suffered. The hospitality industry has suffered. The hotels are at about 15 to 20% capacity, mainly people that have to be in town for some reason, whether it's work or a family issue has brought them here. So that's a place of pain. The leisure industry the leisure industry, all the events that are supposed to take place in Aiken over the spring have had to be canceled or delayed. And that means a lot of dollars and a lot of ripple effect to that because, the steeplechase affects clothing stores. The steeplechase affects grocery stores. I'll go ahead and say it, the steeplechase affects anybody that's selling beer. But it's a lot of ripple as to what's going on. Now, the real estate industry, March and April have been great months for realtors. They had a lot in the pipeline. A lot of housing has been closed. So that works good. And that has a ripple effect too, because to get to a house closing, you got to have an attorney, you got to have a home inspection, you've got to have a number of things. And then after you buy the house, you want to make some renovations and things. So that has a positive ripple effect. So what it amounts to, the other thing is that manufacturers, for the most part, have been operating as usual, as best they can, operating as usual. So we haven't seen layoffs, and that has been real positive, and that's going to help our economy in the long run for sure. The Chamber's also created 7 podcasts. This is something we thought we could do. It provides useful information for businesses so that they hear some how-tos or some whys, and these have been good. And later in today's program, we're actually going to show one of those podcasts because it fits in with something that the club is very interested in. I'll let President John tee that up later. We've also spent a lot of time keeping our website updated. You come into AikenChamber.net and there's a COVID button there. A lot of people have that. But at first, a few weeks ago, the information and the guidance that was coming out of Washington was changing so rapidly that business owners and managers couldn't keep up with it. And so Mandy Collins on the chamber staff watched continually to the changes. We've been very fortunate because we get multiple bites of information every day from the U.S. Chamber, and we're getting information from the White House every day. And they both point out what's new and what's different. And when we get that, we go ahead and put that right up on our website. And that's been pretty helpful. Other organizations in town, including the city, decided they couldn't keep up with it fast enough and why replicate. And so our site kind of became the official site for where to go to for the latest and most up-to-date information. And we're glad to provide that service. The other thing that we have done is the city of Aiken started the Aiken Disaster Relief Revolving Loan Fund. This has been a real lifeline for a lot of small businesses. It's designed for businesses with 25 or fewer employers and has a few other guidelines. The city started it. They formed a partnership with Security Federal. Security Federal not only became part of the guarantee, but they also have done the underwriting of the loans. So there are underwriting criteria that businesses do have to meet. The AikenChamber became a partner in this program, and then the Aiken Corp became a partner. What's amazing to me is in 4 days time, we put together $1 million fund to help support small business. And it's really gotten a lot of attention. Other chamber presidents, not only in South Carolina, but from around the country, have called me to say, how in the world did you do that? The mayor's gotten calls from other mayors. The city manager's gotten calls from other city managers. And so it's a point of pride to me that we were able to do that, and it's really helped a lot. Last week, I wanted some time to pass before we started actually trying to contact every chamber member. But last week, we started the process of calling all the chamber members, as many as we can get to the phone, and we made about 250 calls. We're finding that the spirit and the attitude of the business community is far more positive than I thought it would be. But I'm not surprised. You know, we are in Aiken, South Carolina, and Aiken has a certain spirit to it. So I've been very happy with that. Now that we are moving, I feel like today is a milestone day as we're moving to a new phase with the outdoor dining opening back up. So businesses can do more and open back up. But I think what you might be seeing and what you might not have thought about before this happened is there are a lot of unanticipated costs to reopening, costs that a business has to face. Tents were going up in Aiken yesterday. Fencing was going up. Those are costs that they didn't anticipate. They can't have as many people because they don't have the in-house seating, and so they're outside. The spacing pushes people further apart, and so the cost and then the volume is down. And I think some restaurants are going to try it and see if it's feasible. Some restaurants are going to make it work and make it work fine, and some restaurants are going to say we're just going to have to wait a little while longer. And the other thing, we've been, the chamber professional staff has been watching every webinar and every thing that we can get our hands on as we try to figure out what's going to happen. I mean, we're even concerned about ourselves and what the guidance for the AikenChamber is going to be. We have more than 15 events a year that have more than 200 people at them. What are we going to be allowed to do with social distancing? When is that going to start working again, and how will that work? I think it's going to look very differently. But I heard a webinar late Friday afternoon that really gave me a lot to think about over the weekend, and that's where we're talking about businesses that were running on a very, very tight margin. Is this the thing that's going to accelerate their demise? Are they finally going to throw in the towel? Have they held out thinking next week will be better or next month will be better? What's going to happen to those? And certainly we can't pinpoint who that's going to be. I hope it turns out to be no businesses like that in Aiken, but I don't believe that'll be the case. But generally speaking, the news is that the business community seems very positive. They seem like they're going to come back. Folks in other communities are talking about, okay, the business comes back, how are we going to convince the consumer to come back? And has the consumer started down different paths? So one person was saying, have so many people gone to online shopping in grocery stores, will they ever go back in the grocery store? What are the changes going to be? I'll tell you one change. I think that you'll see that rural broadband is going to be on the top of people's list, because you've had a remote workforce now that needed broadband. Some people didn't have access to it. You've got the delivery of education that needs broadband, and some of the students didn't have access to it. And Brother Rowe, people have really, really adapted to telemedicine quickly, and some people don't have access to that. And there's no telling what other kinds of things that will gravitate in that direction. So we have probably moved the funding and the discussion about rural broadband in the last 6 weeks. We probably moved it ahead a decade.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very positive. So I'll close with this. Be positive. Be positive. Brighter days are ahead.
So that wraps up today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to the Rotary Club at Aiken for letting us use that video. Until next time, I'm Jim Tunison, and we'll see you again on the Chambers Ask the Expert.